I don't know about you, but every day I see things that inspire me. And it's nice to have a place to jot down the little tidbits of inspiration that I find. So today on Stamp TV, I'm going to show you how to make a daily inspiration journal with a matching pen that you can use to capture all of those important bits and pieces of creativity. This also makes a perfect gift, so you may want to make a few and tuck them away for the perfect gift-giving moment. Last week, I offered Stamp TV members a free digital download of some great journal titles. One of them was this daily inspiration that I'm going to use today. Let me show you the tools and products you're going to need to make this journal. First, you're going to need the printout from the Stamp TV freebies page, and this is all of the different titles that I've created. You can print these either on ivory or on white cardstock. Then you're going to need a small journal. And this journal I got at Staples, and they were in a 3-pack. Now they're a little bit bigger than the food journal that I made last week, but this journal is the perfect size for journaling inspiration. And it'll also fit in your purse or your bag. You're going to need some score tape, and you can use any size from 1/8 of an inch up to 1/2 an inch, and I'm using the 1/2 inch today. You're going to need some rubber stamps, and I'm using 2 of the stamps from the brand new True Love Stamp TV kit. I'm using this beautiful frame that coordinates with the Spellbinders, Nestabilities, Labels 8 dies, and I'm using this floral image. You're going to need a Stamp-A-Majig, and this is going to be important to have some kind of stamp positioning tool because you're printing out the words and then you're going to stamp the frame around the outside of the words. So you want to make sure that you've got something so that when you do stamp the frame, the words will end up right in the center. You're going to need a paper piercer, and I'm using the Tim Holtz craft pick, and then just something to punch into. I just have a little piece of a mouse pad cut here, and some of the black brads from the new True Love Stamp TV kit. You're also going to need some ribbon, and again, this is our Passionate Pink ribbon, and it's in the new True Love Stamp TV kit. All of the beautiful pinks and reds are just gorgeous in this kit. That coordinates beautifully with the Memento Rosebud ink, and I'm going to be using that. I've got the Tonic ticket tag punch, and I'm going to notch the corners of the focal image using this. I have some 1/4 inch pop dots, and I'm going to use my Cuttlebug today to cut out my die shape. So to begin, you want to print out the quotes, these journal titles, and I printed a couple on ivory and then I printed one on white, and you can see I used the food journal from last week's video. Well, for this one I'm going to use the daily inspiration. Now you want to make sure that you cut this one just a little bit big because you are going to cut this out with a bigger die, so you want to make sure you have a nice margin around the outside. And then what I like to do is I like to take a little bit of adhesive and just tack it down on my work surface. This way I know it's not going to move around when I use the Stamp-A-Majig. You want that to be nice and straight. The next step is to create the imaging sheet on the Stamp-A-Majig, and I'm going to do that using the Rosebud ink. This way I don't have to clean the stamp after I make the imaging sheet. So I'm going to ink up this stamp with the Rosebud, and then placing the imaging sheet right in the right hand corner of the Stamp-A-Majig tool. I'm going to make sure that's nice and tight, and then I'm going to using a square block, get it right into that right angle and press down. So that is where my image is going to be. And I'm going to just line it up over the words Daily Inspiration. You're going to love this printout because the brand new Stamp TV kit label fits with all of these words. So you'll be able to make lots of different kinds of journals using the brand new kit. Then I'm going to replace the tool. And once again, I'm going to ink up my stamp. Now I'm going to hold the tool down nice and tight because I don't want the vibration from inking up the stamp to move that position. Okay, and again, place the stamp right in the right angle there and press down. And because this is a bigger stamp, I don't want to rock the stamp, but I do want to press it everywhere on the back to make sure I get a good impression. And there is my label. Isn't that pretty? Okay, now I'm going to cut this out, and I want to do that using the Cuttlebug. So let me grab the Cuttlebug here and set it up. Pull this off. I'm going to start with my A plate and then lay my B plate down and then pop on my image. And then using that Labels 8 die, I'm going to line that up. There we go. That's going to give me a nice white border around the outside too. And run it through. There we go. And because I have a little bit of tape on the back, it's stuck to my B plate, but there we go. Just perfect. Now I'm going to get to work on upholstering the journal. And what I've done here is I've used some of the pattern papers in the new True Love Stamp TV kit along with some black cardstock. Now I've cut this black cardstock panel, and this measures 4 3/4 inches across by 7 3/4 inches long. And what you want to do is cut 2 of these because you want to do the front of your journal and you also want to finish off the back of your journal. I'm just going to do the front for you now, but I'll show you a finished journal when I'm all done. Then you're going to cut some of this pattern paper, and I've chosen 2 complementary patterns from the kit, the one with all the little words and then the one with the little hearts. Now, the bigger panel down at the bottom, this one measures 4 5/8 inches across by 3 inches down. The top one measures 4 5/8 inches across and 2 1/2 inches down. And then the thinnest panel, which is this one, is 4 5/8 across by 2 inches. But I'm going to show you how to line these up perfectly so you get them spaced really nicely. You're going to start with your bottom panel and just using some regular adhesive, you're going to position that down at the bottom of the panel, like that. Now you're going to move right to the top one, and you're going to get that one in position. If you don't do the top and the bottom first, you're either going to have excess at the top or excess at the bottom because it's pretty hard to judge exactly where to place that middle one until those the top and the bottom one are placed. And so this one is going to be right there, like that. And then finally, this one I can place now right in between, and I can make sure that there's just the same amount of space between the top and this middle panel and the bottom and this middle panel. So let's get some tape on that, and we'll position that one. I'm going to lift it up and have it face me here so I can see it a little bit better. There we go. So that is going to be the cover of the journal. Now, putting the cover on the journal requires a little bit of a stronger tape, and that's where my score tape comes in. I love to use the score tape because it allows me just to rip pieces off and not have to worry about scissors. And I'm going to make sure that the perimeter is fairly well sealed, and then top and bottom as well. And if you want to use a little bit of extra tape, you can feel free to put an extra piece down the center to make sure it doesn't come off, but once you stick it down with the score tape, it's not going to go anywhere. Now you may notice that I didn't put the score tape on this side all the way to the edge or all the way to the top or bottom, and the reason is because if this panel is just slightly bigger, I don't want it to feel sticky when I go to open the cover. This way I know all of the sticky stuff is well within the inside of the panel. So, just remove these little sticker things here. And then you're going to place that right up against the rings. Okay, and there we go. And there is the cover for my journal. Isn't that pretty? I love how these patterns work so nicely together. They've got all the same colors in them, but one is very soft and subdued and the other one is very bright and fun. They really work nicely. So now I've cut a couple other things out here. I've cut out a piece of white cardstock, and this little piece here, the small white one, measures 3 1/4 inches by 2 7/8 inches. And then I have a black one that's going to go on top of that, and that one measures 3 5/8 inches by 2 3/4 inches. Now I'm going to use this little tonic punch to notch corners out of each of the corners of the black piece. And this is a very easy tool to use. You just slip it into the guides and hold it nice and tight there and press. And it takes the perfect little bite out of each corner. Now some people like to emboss this, and I'll show you on my finished project how I used a Cuttlebug embossing folder. And one other piece of my project that I'm going to show you is how I just stamped some flowers down the front of these two panels. And I did that prior to cutting the paper apart, so I'll show you that. You'll be able to take a look at what that looks like in my finished project. So now these two pieces are going to be layered together with a little bit of adhesive. There we go. And then I'm going to use my paper piercer, the craft pick, and I'm going to poke holes in the 4 corners and add some brads. And these brads are also part of the brads in the new Stamp TV kit. You're going to love our brads. They are buttery smooth to open and play with. Now, when you're doing a corner like this and you spread the brad out, you may notice that part of it extends outside of the little panel. Well, there's a real easy way to take care of that. Just get a good pair of scissors, and these are the Tim Holtz scissors. They're wonderful. And I just cut that little piece right off, but when I cut it off, I close my eyes just in case that flies up toward my face. So you always want to make sure that you close your eyes before you cut. All right, and we'll put this one in next. And same thing on this side. Again, it's going to stick out a little bit, so I will cut that off. Some brads are very, very tough, and these are very buttery smooth, so they are easy to open. They're very easy to cut. It's not a very hard metal. Okay, and the final one, we'll just snip that off. Okay. So now I want to use a little bit of this ribbon to go across the center. And I'm going to just tack that down because I want to make sure that the ribbon is directly under my focal image. And so I might have to move that. We'll take a look here. I'll place the focal image. Oh, no, that looks pretty good. I'm going to add 2 more brads. I'm going to poke right on the pink point there to add a brad there. And same thing on the other side. And put 2 more black brads in here. And again, cut off that excess. Boy, if you need good scissors, the Tim Holtz scissors are wonderful. They stay sharp. You can cut the brads and then go back and cut ribbon, and you'll see how beautifully they continue to cut. They're just wonderful. Part of it is they have a little bit of a serrated edge, and so it never seems to get dull. All right, now using some 1/4 inch pop dots, I'm going to pop these on. and then pop that focal image right onto this panel. This just gives the journal a little bit of kind of like a raised texture. You'll be able to see this piece just popped up a little bit. I kind of like doing that. And then the entire thing is going to go on. Now, if you want to make sure that this panel does not come off, then instead of using just regular adhesive like I am, use some of the score tape. Now, put that right onto the center of this panel here. And then press that down. So that's done. And that is my journal. Now let me show you my finished journal here, because you can see the difference. If you want to jazz it up a little bit, what I did here is, on this one, I added some of the stamped flowers from the flower stamp from the True Love Stamp TV kit. And that really jazzes it up a little bit. If you do that, make sure that you stamp down the one side for the front, and then on the back you stamp down the opposite side, so the flowers are always closest to the rings. And that's what the back of the journal looks like. So there's a finished journal, and you can also see, you may not be able to see that, but I did emboss that with the Swiss Dot Cuttlebug folder. Now, one thing that's really nice when you're making a journal, and especially if you're giving it as a gift, is to give a pen with it. These are called RSVP pens, and you can get these at any office supply store. What I like about them is the clear barrel, so that you can decorate these. Some people roll them with score tape and then roll them in beads, and that's really pretty. But one thing that's really neat is when you have these beautiful pattern papers like the ones that come in the True Love Stamp TV kit, you've got all these little scraps from your projects. They make the perfect filler for these pens. Now the way you want to do this is you want to get something like a colored pencil to start rolling it, because it's kind of hard to roll unless you roll it around something, and a colored pencil is just about right. So once you get it like that around that colored pencil, then take the colored pencil out, and now you can wrap it real nice and tight. And the tighter the better, because you've got to stick it into this small opening on the pen. So it'll open back up once it gets inside the pen. So if it looks a little bit too thin, don't worry about it. All right, so now I'm going to stick that in there. And what you can do is you can either take your pick, your craft pick, to push it up, or you can use the pen itself to help push it up. There we go. Now that's almost up to the top. Do a little bit more there. There we go. And then just put the pen back together again. Now the barrel of your pen matches that middle panel, and that is so pretty. But let's take it a step further. Let's take a little bit of this ribbon and slip it into that little part of the cap, and then we'll tie it in a knot. You want to pull real nice and snug on that. And then just take those scissors, cut an angle there, and the opposite way on the other side. And now you have a beautiful little pen that coordinates beautifully with your journal. Perfect for gift giving, or the perfect gift for yourself. Small daily inspiration journals are a great way to capture thoughts and feelings, bits and pieces of creative inspiration, travel memories, and even to-do lists. Moments like these can easily be washed away by our busy lives. These treasured books are a great way to keep them alive.